Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin. Sometime during the early 1990s, I had a girlfriend named Amy. She told me about a book called The Five Love Languages by some guy named Gary Chapman. Now, I have to admit that my first thought was something like, oh boy, here we go with some mushy girly stuff. She coerced me into reading the book, and what I took away from it was great. Now I have to learn people's love languages if I want to show them that I care about them in a way that they'll feel better about it. It sounded like a lot of extra work to do something that I always thought just comes naturally to everybody. I always knew that people showed their love in different ways, but I thought making relationships work was about learning to accept your partner's love the way that they expressed it, not about how I can change myself to behave the way they want me to, just so they'll feel loved. After a lot of time, any number of debates, a handful of blowout arguments, and lots of apologies from both of us, I came to realize that there are two critical things that I had not realized at first. One of those things is that this is basically a life hacks manual for anyone devious enough to use it that way. Do you see it? By pretending to speak your partner's love language, you could inspire or coerce them to do practically anything within reason, so long as they felt loved and respected. Conversely, this can also be a manual for how to make your partner feel loved by identifying their love language and then genuinely giving them what they need to fill their love tank. And I promise that will be the only time I will use that phrase during this presentation. Now, by going over the reading material in this class, I learned about a process that I've been chasing and applying, as it turns out, my entire adult life with varying degrees of success. The layers of that process are outlined in a model named PERMA. PERMA, which stands for Positive Emotions, Engagement, Relationships, Meaning, and Accomplishment. Knowing the meaning of these 5 steps has given me a mental checklist of sorts to help guide me along the path of working towards and enjoying a fulfilling life. In reading the materials, I also learned about neuroplasticity. It's a fascinating subject from an academic perspective. I now know that we have fewer than 3,000 synapses at birth that grow into about 15,000 as young children, and then dwindle back down to around 7,500 as adults. It explains a lot about how and why we have the capacity to learn more as children, and why we can struggle sometimes to learn complex ideas as adults by comparison. Thanks to neuroplasticity, though, I can make new habits and continue to learn. With this knowledge, I intend to try to consciously be mindful of the PERMA model as it applies to my daily life regarding happiness, fulfillment, and sacrifice for the sake of compromise in my relationship to my partner. I also now understand that it will take a deliberate, conscious effort on my part to form new mental pathways that will one day turn into habits that I hope will help our relationship flourish and result in a happier, more fulfilling life together. Thank you so much for your attention.